Hello, my name is Fraser. I'm Vice President of Customer Experience Strategy at InMoment, and I'm here today to answer one question, which is what do brands need to do to differentiate through customer experience? And I'm also going to share with you 3 examples of brands who in retail who I believe are smashing it. So the key themes in terms of differentiation as we pass through 2021 is, first of all, understand your market. So what are your consumers, but also your potential consumers looking for? Where do they sit in terms of consumer confidence and potentially COVID confidence as well as we move through the pandemic? So we're designing experiences that empathize for where they are today, but also build towards the vision of where customers are wanting to be into the future. You've got to hold that opportunity as well and be able to demonstrate how you're going to deliver and move on. Second part is around digital. So digital and technology, no doubt, has a huge part to play in terms of experience design moving forwards. We've seen that throughout, and the pandemic has really driven a transformation. But there's 2 areas that need to be tackled here in terms of the implementation of technology. First of all, the technology that any business delivers needs to solve for a customer's problems and pain points and not your own. And the other part is that obviously digital does take out the human element, which is today in most experiences still really strong part of how memorable experiences are delivered. So how can you create that emotional connection with customers and not just focus on ease and frictionless? And then from a bigger brand point of view, and this is where marketing comes into play, that what a business's purpose is needs to be tied very much towards the experiences that are then delivered and designed. Great example of this in retail banking is Virgin Money's green mortgages, which are there to enable more customers to switch to a more environmentally friendly way of running their house, and then they're getting the reward and recognition through the products that Virgin Money have put together. The other part is around thinking about delivering experiences in a more inclusive way for all customers. So real focus on accessibility and back to that digital point of view as well. And then the final area is around delivering your promise. So we know that how brands portray themselves impacts the expectations that customers have from the experiences and engagements, interactions that they have. Boohoo, for example, is measured in a very different way or held to different standards than, say, a Patagonia type brand, which has got very strong credentials on green. So understand where you sit in terms of the brand matrix and ensure that you're delivering experiences that sit towards the expectations of your customers. Now, in terms of 3 brands that I want to call out, they are Primark, Locker and Tesco, and let me explain why. So first of all, if you're thinking about designing physical experiences for tomorrow's world, then do visit the Primark store in Birmingham. They've really put a lot of thought and some great solutions in place to solve for today's customer types. But they're also very much focused again on that future. So they've recently launched their Primark Cares, so really focused on their sustainability and efficacy in a fast food fashion environment. And also, if you think about during COVID, obviously they took a very bold stand in not moving digital, despite the amount of pressure that would have been on them to take a digital footing. But in terms of social media presence and how they've used that and provided all sorts of ways for customers to interact with Primark, despite the fact that their stores weren't open, despite the fact they haven't got an e-commerce site, I think really demonstrates the creativity that is putting Primark ahead of many. And also, if you think about the pent-up demand in retail when Primark did eventually open their stores, and all the queues that you would have seen demonstrates the fact that it's a very well-positioned brand. Second one, as I mentioned, is Foot Locker. So they did, if you look at their financial results that they've recently reported, they absolutely smashed it during the pandemic and as we're moving out of the pandemic as well. And part of that is through the digital transformation work that they delivered. I mentioned earlier in terms of how to differentiate, it is providing that emotional connection back to the customers. And they were looking at the feedback that they collected through the moment around their digital experience, and they realized that customers weren't getting the type of experience that they associate with Foot Locker nor anywhere comparable to the experiences that are delivered in their stores. So really missing out on that guidance and that expertise. So that is something that they've introduced into their website to provide much more of that personalised feel, and really getting the sense that they are talking to someone who really understands them, understands their journey, and it's enabling them to make the right choices, as you would if you went into a Foot Locker store. They also provided flexibility, for example, implementing Klarna in terms of payment, and the results have been shown to their digital growth and digital conversion. The last one is Tesco, so recognised by Marketing Week as the brand of the year in 2020. I'm sure they're going to be up there in terms of 2021 as well. When we look back on that, they've really gained a huge amount of credit for how they've continued to keep us fed and watered over the last 18 months, whilst also again being incredibly creative and incredibly flexible. They've done a huge amount of work in terms of diversity and inclusion, particularly around disability inclusion. They're continuing to push barriers down to ensure that all Tesco customers can have an easy experience within their stores. And whilst a lot of these are at that sort of brand level, they've also been able to prove the sort of granular changes and granular understanding of their customers and delivering action at that lower level as well, to ensure that all parts of the business understand what they need to do in their roles and responsibilities in delivering Tesco's promises. So I hope you found that interesting. I look forward to speaking to you again soon.